Welcome back to Total Football. Arsenal take on Sheffield United this weekend as they look to cap another good week with another win. Mikel Arteta has been speaking to our reporter Gail Davis today. She joins us live right now. Gail, good afternoon to you. Let's start off with an injury update. Not great news for Arsenal fans, is it?
No, it isn't great news, and it's made, I guess, even worse by the performance, particularly of Gabriel Jesus during the week. He was absolutely sensational against Sevilla with a fabulous finish, a brilliant assist, and in fact the papers said he almost single-handedly destroyed Sevilla. That's what the Spanish papers reflected on. But he did come off from that game with a bit of a hamstring injury. He wasn't overly concerned when I spoke to him afterwards, but a scan has revealed there is a muscular problem. And when I asked Arteta to put a date on it, he said, look, probably after the international break. But with Gabby, he always surprises us. So I guess they keep everything sort of crossed and hope he's fit for that Newcastle game. In terms of Thomas Partey, well, he last started a game against Fulham in August. He played 5 minutes against Manchester City. The idea was that he'd go to play for Ghana, ease himself in, get some match minutes, miss the Chelsea game and play against Seville. And then the day before he was due to play against Seville, picked up a training injury, an injury during training and missed that game. And in terms of him, well, it's a little bit unknown. Listen to what Arteta said.
He's got a muscle injury and we expect him to be out for a few weeks. We don't really know still the extent of it, and he has more tests today. But yeah, he picked up that injury in training, the last training session, the last kick of the ball before Sevilla. So yeah, very unfortunate.
But he obviously played 5 minutes for you, didn't he, against City, and then he went and played at Ghana. Do you think that might have contributed?
Well, I don't think so. He was coming from a period of absence and he needed minutes, and he played with the national team, and we tried to be always in touch with them. And then we have 2 games with Chelsea and Seville very, very close, and we decided not to load him on the first game to play him in Seville, and then that happened in training. So sometimes it's difficult. You try to prevent. If we would have get injured against Chelsea or against City, we would have said that we have rushed him, you know. But then you rest him and he gets injured. So it's things that happen in football.
Gail, I know that we're only in October, but Arsenal have already played a lot of games this season. Does Arteta have to protect his players from burnout?
I think one of the things he's talked quite a lot about this season is learning from last season. I caught up with him sort of about a month ago, and he said he charted all the games he thought the players were going to be able to play. And then, of course, you heard what happened with Partey. He almost has to rip it up and start again. And he said sometimes he just has to get the feel of a player of where they're at. What he does have at his disposal this time is a far better squad in terms of the strength in depth. You've got the likes of Trossard pushing for a start. Havertz came for big money, not an automatic starter. Both of those players really hoping, I guess, to get a chance against Sheffield United. Tomiyasu, who's been pushing Zinchenko and played exceptionally well in Seville on Tuesday night. He can rotate. And with that in mind, I spoke to him about possibly rotating his captain, because Odegaard has set such high standards over the last season and the early part of this season, but he just isn't having the impact maybe that he's had in recent weeks as he had last season as captain and role model and leader. And this is what Arteta had to say.
We discussed that to get to the level that they perform and our front players last season. That's just very, very difficult to see. Well, it hasn't happened in the Premier League. So we need to be conscious of that. But that's about form, about as well putting him in better positions and doing things better in certain areas to help him to have the game that obviously helps him to exploit his qualities. And yeah, they have played as well a lot of minutes, and as a consequence of that.
Arteta also talked a lot about increasing squad size, having more options with substitutes. He said if we are going to be playing this level of game week in, week out. And you mentioned so many big games for Arsenal. He pinpointed Declan Rice for his performances. It was interesting to hear what he said. It's the big games where we've really needed him that he've turned up. and performed above and beyond maybe what we expected. And it was interesting to hear from him. And we've just seen Rice behind us. He's been doing a lot of one-to-one interviews, so you'll get to hear a little bit of that. Domesh sat down with him a little bit earlier today, so that's on Sports News tomorrow.